You ever hear something through the walls at night? A tapping, a dragging, a whisper that doesn't belong to you? Most people ignore it. They blame the pipes, the wind, an old water heater. But sometimes the things we hear through the walls aren't the house settling. Sometimes it's something else. This is the story of a woman named Emily who moved into a quiet row house community in the United States. Her place was old, built nearly a century ago with wooden floors that creaked and walls so thin you could hear your neighbor sneeze. She didn't love it, but the rent was cheap, and she worked long hospital shifts so she wasn't home much anyway. Her first week there, she noticed the noise. It always began around midnight, soft tapping at first, a light scrape, a shuffle of movement. She figured maybe her neighbor was a night owl, someone rearranging furniture. She brushed it off. But then the noises changed. They became rhythmic, patterned, not like someone dropping something, not like footsteps, but like someone was working, carving, digging. And sometimes she could swear she heard murmuring, a man's voice, low, arguing with himself, whispering things she couldn't quite make out through the wall. Once she thought she heard laughter, not joyful laughter, the kind that makes your blood run cold. The neighbor's name was Calvin, middle-aged, always wore the same faded jacket. No friends, no visitors, no car. He kept to himself, too much actually, because Emily often caught him watching her. If she stepped outside for work, he would quietly open his own door just enough to peek out, not enough to say hello, just enough to watch her walk to her car. Some nights when she walked up the porch steps, the noises through the wall would slam loudly like he was reacting to her arrival. Once, as she sat in her living room eating dinner, she heard it clearly, a whisper through the wall that sounded like her name, soft, drawn out, Emily. She froze, fork halfway to her mouth, her heart hammered. She didn't move for almost a minute, afraid that if she breathed too loud, something inside that wall would answer back. But then the strangest thing happened. The noises stopped. Completely. No tapping, no digging, no muttering, just silence. For the first time since she moved in, she slept through the night, and she slept well, at least for the first couple days. Then she began to notice other things. The neighbors' blinds were always closed, days passed with no lights on, mail started piling up on his porch. She never heard footsteps over there, not even during the day. The quiet felt heavier than the noise ever did. 2 weeks went by, then one morning Emily woke to the sound of knocking, but not on her door. Police were outside the neighbor's house, 2 cars, officers talking quietly. They were performing a wellness check. Emily stood by her window, peeking from behind the curtain. She didn't want to admit it, but relief washed over her. Finally, someone else noticed something was wrong. The police tried the front door, locked the back door, no luck, so they entered through the basement. When they opened that basement door, the smell hit them first. Thick, rotting, heavy enough to burn their noses. They descended the stairs slowly, flashlights sweeping the dark corners until one officer shouted for the others. There was a hole in the wall. A section of bricks had been removed from the shared foundation between Calvin's basement and Emily's. The bricks weren't smashed out randomly. They were carved out, one by one, cleanly, slowly, over time. And on the other side of that hole was a body. A woman, or what was left of her. She had been reported missing weeks earlier. Calvin had taken her, dragged her into that basement. And for all those nights Emily lay awake listening, the noises weren't just him packing or muttering. He had been digging through the wall, digging toward Emily. And beside the body was Calvin himself, calmly standing over a table saw, his hands and clothes covered in blood. The police ordered him to the ground, but he didn't move. He didn't fight. He simply looked at them, smiled faintly, and whispered, "I was almost there." The officers handcuffed him, dragged him outside, and placed him in the back of a police transport van. Emily stood frozen at her window, watching. She couldn't feel her feet. She couldn't feel anything. Her mind kept replaying every noise she'd ignored, every whisper, every scrape of brick behind that wall. Calvin never made it to the station. Somewhere along the drive, he managed to hang himself with his own belt. By the time the officers opened the back door, his body was limp, his eyes open, still smiling. After the investigation wrapped up, detectives came to Emily's home. They asked her questions, wrote down her statements, and then they told her the truth she was never prepared to hear. She was next. Calvin had mapped out a path through the wall. They found drawings in his basement, notes about her schedule, diagrams showing the path from his basement to hers. The digging noises she'd heard night after night weren't random. He wasn't trying to fix pipes or move furniture. He was tunneling toward her. Brick by brick. Night by night. Inches from her living space. Just waiting for the moment he broke through. Emily moved out a week later. She couldn't sleep there anymore, couldn't stand being near those walls. But even after she left, in every home she lived in afterward, she found herself lying awake some nights, listening. Listening for tapping. Listening for scraping. Listening for a whisper leaking through the darkness. Just like the one that whispered her name. Because when you've lived through something like that, silence isn't comforting anymore. Silence is a warning. Silence means the noise hasn't started yet. And if you're listening to this right now, lying in bed, staring at your own walls, tell me honestly. Are you sure you're alone on the other side?